Greetings. The title that came to mind because it's well, what isn't big? Anything that's true is important. I noticed the shadow right here. The shadow. I put in words the best I could, so whatever I've been given to try and explain what I'm seeing. But see, taking this or anything at all and like copying and pasting it and starting a foundation, a new church building foundation with its, and it takes this and pastes it and says, we believe in this. We're talking about real things though. There's no meaning in there. Come out of her, my people. There's no meaning in the harlot houses. It's the way it is. This is how the Creator shows his power and his judgments and his love. No greater way to show love than through Messiah dying for the sins of the world. For all the enemies, everyone's his enemy. For all the enemies, he did that. It's pretty powerful. It's not something to be copy and pasted and put in a movie and make people cry. Although, maybe there's a right time for that. That's not, see, it's just a shadow in the church. Oh, it's not supposed to see anything real, just my shadow. Not supposed to see anything real in the church world. See their pyramids and things they build. Just talk a lot. Shadow sort of looks like the real thing, but it's not real. Look at it. Is this what people want? Shadow is darkness compared to the light. Sometimes it's nice to actually see the picture while speaking of something. It really helps if someone is perceiving and being given by the Father of light. Light's plural. So then shadow things are only good because they point to the real thing. My hand is not down there. It's a delusion. It's a trick. And it's not darkness like that. But it looks something like the real thing. It's a shadow of it. Religion is shadows. To be an old covenant saint is basically what we're seeing in this world, that the church world does. Carnality is a shadow. It's all one. The old man is a shadow, is the flesh, is death. When the light comes, utterly, this shadow disappears, and it's only left with real things. The Creator's truth is crazy. Sometimes I just sit back to try to look from a bird's eye view, and I can't believe what I perceive and know to be true. I can't believe the world's this bad, and I can't believe he's that good. It's kind of mind-numbing. It's hard to believe seeing all this evil. Not literally hard to believe. Like, it's sort of awe-inspiring. Wide open mouth going, no, this can't be. It really is like being chased by devils the rest of your life, getting worse and worse until the Father ultimately kills you. The old man, which is death, which can't do any good, which is punished and condemned by the law. This is why it's good for the old man to be killed by the Father and destroyed in Gehenna fire now. First, the second death is our first death. That's why when we read second death, even just from reading, it's not too hard to see. It's talking about something in the future. Not that it has nothing to do with now, but specifically the second death for those that don't die now. Those who overcome Well, nobody overcomes until they actually go all the way to the end and overcome sin and death. So overcome is the end of our life, overcoming sin and death like Messiah did. And then afterwards, so second death is speaking of those who overcame. Here, keep going, time is near. It's never very far away. And when we start seeing spiritual things, it's like the time gets warped. It actually is really near, you know. It just might be more near than the normal near today in 2021. There's that shadow again, go away, shadow things. The temple is a shadow. The church buildings are temples, synagogues, same thing. The houses, they're shadows. They never did mean what it is. They always were the shadow, but nobody knew. When the light and full reality hasn't come, that was the real thing to people. Here's the thing. Those who are carnal, that's what's real to them still. I mean, if I'm not seeing that many different words compared to 2-3 years ago or 4, but it's deeper, and I don't know how to put that to words. The more someone sees and hears from the Creator, things they could already have said with words, like the harlot coming out of her. The deception's getting worse. It's even more mind-numbing what they're doing. The more he gives you, the more mind-numbing the lie is. It's the best way I can say it. Whatever someone knows now, they can be confident and certain that's not what they need to know. There's a lot of learning and growing to do. He planned it all out. It wasn't going to grow in like 1 year and then it's over. Just a nice steady growth. Like a tree grows. It starts out small. A lot of things start, they die. That's falling away. The confidence his people have is when his spirit tells our spirit that you're a son or a daughter. No one needs to do anything. You don't have to try to prove it. And that will come. The works will come when we actually know this. Because we've done plenty of that in the past, trying to prove something, getting angry when someone doesn't believe. It's actually nice. What seems impossible is actually very good. The more you don't hold on to self, the more reward come your way. The more you do what's right, the more rewards and the more of that evil going away, that pride, that insecurity, the lack of love, the void everyone's trying to fill by, well, when there's a void, they have to do evil to try and fill it. Spiritual, scriptural fact from above. When there's a void in someone in destruction, they have to do evil to fill it because there's only one way. And everything man does is all the wrong ways. So everything it does is to try to fill this void, and it never works. They could say the words out there. It's not being perceived by even the many that say the words. When someone has their own understanding and their own doctrine, see, all his truth makes sense. And it's already in the heart. Don't have to try. It's their own. They studied, they found the best division, they found the best denomination, better than all the others. It's all their own. When that's exposed, it's very personal. It's crumbling everything. Their whole life is built on that cover. Their clothes are coming off. The emperor's clothes are coming off, and it's like to destroy everything. But it wasn't real anyways. But they're holding on to that because a void needs to be filled. So this is all the divisions and peoples out there attacking each other when something's exposed. It's not supposed to, that's not the right way. The right way is hearing from the Father, knowing what's true in your heart. No one has to tell you when the Creator himself tells us. Can someone see the power in that? I mean, we're talking about the Creator of the heavens and earth telling someone what's true. So when someone hates it, what we start seeing is that starts going away, because it's not our own. And the works have to catch up to knowing it's not our own teaching and works. And they will, as long as someone abides in the vine, for real. And not a wrong vine, not a wrong dead thing, a trick. So the more understanding and then the works start coming in, real change. In reality, real things, not shadows. Religion talks about shadows. Any religion. You know, the fact that temples exist, and I love this, and this is what he's given me to say. The fact that temples exist prove that it's darkness. It's wrong. It's messed up. It's not about my doctrine versus your doctrine, you know? I just know this is true. Now, someone that is in there that attacks what they chose, which the Creator chose their delusions, everyone's first. We come out of delusion, come out of Egypt, back to the Creator. That's the picture in Genesis 2. Fell off, fell away, died, something's missing. The Creator made it to be a void, a very big void to fill, as man can't fill it. No shoe is, nothing could fill, nothing could satisfy the soul, your life, except the Creator of the heavens and earth through Messiah. Because take away the true Messiah, you take away everything connected to the man, Yahushua Messiah, because he's connected to all of humanity, and all the word points forward to him. But look how prideful that might look. How prideful would have it looked like? What a terrible tribulation. I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to pretend to know what that tribulation is anymore. Now, I'm not saying I know what the end of it is, the full thing, but whatever I see now, it's a tribulation for real. To get persecuted for good works. Massive tribulation. It's like the earth shaking, things burning, smoking, chaos inside, anger, confusion, and then repenting and healing, and then more tribulation, and you have to overcome even more than the last time. It never stops. This is the refining fire, and if someone's not actually in it, I don't even like saying this. I don't enjoy it. But if someone's not in it, they don't have anything to do with the Father or the actual melting pot, the lake of fire, the water in the fire lake, baptized and then with spirit and fire, cleansed, drowning to death. The old man. I mean, how much of the good works should the old man do if he needs to be drowned to death? Can someone see the picture? There's no spiritual contradictions. If the old man needs to die in Messiah and be drowned like Jonah to death to calm the storms, how is a dead man doing good works? He didn't do good works anyways, but how is he doing any works that count for something if he's supposed to die? How much of him dies? All of it. With the Creator, it's all or nothing. And anyone that says otherwise is lukewarm, and Messiah vomits them out. Mixing. There's no mixing. It's either all or nothing. It's either light or darkness. So when we read about the old man dying, all of it and all of his works, he needs to rest from his works. That teaching lines up with the old man dying and doesn't contradict ceasing from our works. The Creator's the first example of this, giving us the natural picture with his creation, but the teaching is there. And he's the first example of resting from his works, because he created, put laws in people, and after the laws get inside of us, there's rest for your soul from him. And those who continue to do evil, whatever evil actually is, he says, I swear they shall not enter my rest. Genesis is teaching, as he's shown me, amazing things. that he puts laws into all of his creation. And after that, it has rest on day 7, not before. All of the creation needs to be exactly how it needs to be, with laws and order, which produces good things, not evil, slavery. This is the reality we live in. Without laws, it's chaos. It's one of the two things. So people can run and attack his laws, but the creation speaks against them right to their face, naturally, for the natural man to see his foolish lack of spiritual understanding, where even the literal creation would be chaos, void, and evil, dark. Well, evil in that it's not what it needs to be. Without laws, nothing works. Without laws, we can't do good works. We don't try to do this. Walking in the Spirit has nothing to do with the flesh, zero. If someone has his Spirit, it is as simple as a true belief, but how do you separate the goats from the sheep on this? Because they'll say the same words. The devil came in unnoticed, saying the same words. And here's the truth that they don't teach any truth in there. Hard words. An unbeliever isn't going to believe just because someone says, it's as simple as believing, fall off a chair. Now I know the many, we have to perceive and watch the creation do exactly what the Creator says, and that many called, few chosen, and every other truth. But because someone does good works, the Creator might wake someone up, but our own words don't have any power from self to do anything or teach anyone anything. I literally could not see whatever I see with Genesis now, not even that long ago. Couldn't see it, literally. No clue. Days come, weeks come, months go by, see a little more, and then confidence comes in the teaching because he just confirms it over and over. How do you explain that to someone? How do you put in words something that's invisible to the carnal man, Must be a liar like everyone else, and we got to accept it. See, the works prove what we need to do, his teaching. We're trying to prove so bad doctrine, and trust me. I haven't done that perfect, but the thoughts and things when they come or throughout the day, at least right now for me, I'm seeing something going, yeah, that's bad, I can't do that. And another test comes, that's bad, I can't do that. It's a tribulation because you're not going to do it right perfectly the way it needs to be done. Don't even know what needs to be done. First we got to know, then the works come in time if he is indeed working in his creation. Genesis, the light of the world. How much of the creation receives laws? All or nothing, in this case, all. How much of his creation, people, will receive all these good things in due time, to be manifested in due time? That's exactly what those words mean. They can't teach that in the church world because it's true. They have to teach false. When we read due time, the ages to come, manifested in the time, the fullness of time, in due time, that's exactly amazing what the writer, inspired by the Father, is saying. That these realities of what the Father did through Messiah is going to be manifested and worked out through time. It's not done all at once. It's done through day 1, day 2, day 3, a day is 1,000 years. So then in a few days, a couple days, to the Creator. And then on day 7, he rests from his works. We're supposed to enter that rest. Spiritual works, flesh works, the works of the flesh. I tried to write it down, but it doesn't. It doesn't matter. Someone needs to be taught literally from the Father, personally, to really understand and perceive anything that's true, even if it's explained the best way possible. Well, we got a whole book not working. He's proving the letters kill within his book. He's proving the letters kill by giving books everywhere, religions everywhere, and the works are still evil and it's still confusion. Proving the letters that kill. So in a way, it sounds like we're trashing in his word. In another, the exact perfect opposite. Very important, you know. But it's not the letters and ink and doctrine and creed system that's not the important thing. It's the word getting in us to do the works, to know him. Eternal life is not what the church world says. Someone walk away, don't believe that. Okay. You know what's strange that I've also seen, and I'm seeing this more and clearer. It seems to be the only direction is more and more and more, clearer. It's got to be that direction, or else we're dying and we're going to fall back and never, and be dead. The seed that sprouted must grow. It must get bigger, which is growing, which is seeing more, learning more, doing more, and then it finally produces some fruit. And maybe a little bit less in the beginning, yes, and then more. How much is up to the Creator, ultimately. It's his works prepared for his people beforehand. They don't teach that either. They'll say the words when they need to. That scripture there prepared beforehand is teaching what they hate, the sovereignty and the predestination, the Father's choosing. That scripture saying the same thing. If only they could see the meaning given by the Father, prepared beforehand. Messiah slain from the foundation of the world, in the mind and plan of the Creator, as if it's done, because that was the plan before the foundation and from the foundation of the world. The tree of life and the sword prove it even further. We got a tree, we got a sword that's teaching spiritual things that the Father needs to show us. So Genesis starts coming alive, Exodus starts coming alive, everything starts coming alive. A little here, a little there. Go through the sword, the destruction of the flesh, guarding the tree of life. It's available now, and just because it is, to those given ultimately, but I'm just saying as a teaching, truth. It's available now, and just because not everyone's taking of it, does not mean it will not be available continually until everyone does. What can't they understand about this? They're not asking, they're not receiving. The tree of life I don't know if there's a prophecy that doesn't work like this. The things that are now are spiritual and always true, and we need to learn what that is. Things that were in the natural form, teaching the spiritual, but it needed to be given. And then these things are also to come. The tree of life is to come. The prophecy will keep growing until it's fulfilled. So it's fulfilled. It's being fulfilled right now, and yet it's not fulfilled and needs to be fulfilled. The beast was, it is, it's not, then it comes back out into perdition, destruction. And this repeats over and over again within each one's life. The world, the prophecy for the world, what it does for people. The beast goes out into perdition. He's got to bring the beast out of us. He's going to get the beast out of us. Nebuchadnezzar, the great king, the beast, crawling on fours, that's not being upright like Adam, right? But only naturally upright. Monkeys are bent over, they're a little different. You know what came to mind in the past, but I'm just reminded now, monkeys were created to deceive the world, at least in part of the reason that I'm seeing these things just come straight to mind. And I wouldn't want anyone else to try to understand anything. It just comes. What he did with his creation, the way he made it look, or whatever's going on in the layers or whatever. How about that's built and created also as, not that the reason only, but as a reason among many others, to deceive the world and make it think it's billions of years without a creator. Yes, he deceives and tricks the world because of righteous judgment. People do this evil, deceive others, so they're deceived as a righteous judgment, and only the creator can do this kind of judgment. Yes, he can do these judgments without being a hypocrite or being those things, darkness. Yes, he can. That's what he is. This is all true, or it's not true at all, and it's all true. He's never darkness. Giving people what they deserve is the righteous judgment. It's time for us to agree with this instead of fighting and trying to find a division so we could get lost. He sends everyone out to be sold under sin to get lost, and gives the man to go out, try it out himself, and it's a delusion. It's pig food. It's unclean. It's evil. It's dark. It's no good. He could have had the Father the whole time and his things. And the Son in this parable also important. That's already a son. There's a little jealousy right next to the Father. Wait a second. Saints never make mistakes, do they? They never have a moment of jealousy. Slip up, right? The weakness of the flesh. Then a chastising and a little bit of destroying of the flesh when it's done. That's how he kills us. Through doing the sin or mistake, whatever. It's a missing of the mark, whatever it is. Brings it out into light to destroy shadows, just like light does when it comes and consumes it. That's how he gets the only way to get the beast out of us is through sin and death and making sin mistakes, even as saints, as believers. Now his people are different. They are doing the Father's good works. Whoever they are, they are. It's not some optional thing. They are changing his real people in the world, scattered through the nations, the few. Religion, it's a mess. That's why I wouldn't know where someone else is exactly, but I see something. I don't know how much exactly. The damage it does to eat unclean food spiritually. It will cause confusion, anger, hatred, jealousy, and any and all these things when we sit there and just willingly continue to eat unclean food, which is lying false words from false prophets, false doctrine too. Someone has to be raised up by the Father bit by bit, and it's like a slow correction, getting better and better, doing less and less of what they need to stop doing. And then, hey, you know what? Take a look after being corrected for a long time on this. Go take a look. Would you think the Father says to do that? Well, forget that for now. We'll do it anyways. We'll take a peek after being corrected for so long on something. Maybe take a little peek and listen. Try to listen, see what they're saying out there in the church world. And it's instant, gross. It's actually scary because it instantly starts trying to suck you in. I'm just being honest. Yeah. Even if we already know it's bad and false, it's of the harlot houses. That's what the devil wants. It'll try to suck you in. If you eat unclean food, which is hearing with spiritual ears and seeing with eyes, and then you eat their food, not literal food right now, we're not speaking of that. It will start getting inside and working sin. It's going to try to do that. A cancer that starts and grows. It needs to be cut off at the butt as soon as possible. After someone knows, they learn to do that so that they don't go down that same path again in the same way, Without sin and us making mistakes, there is no correction. Now, could the Father do it? Well, there's no reality to asking that question. Could he do it a different way? I'm not going to even go there. It's pointless. The reality is man does and is a sinner, and then even the saints have to be corrected in bringing out that sin to destroy it, and then it hurts them when he corrects and destroys something. A little here, a little there. It's painful. It's a spiritual thing to see this pain. Because the natural picture requires pain. If you cut your arm off, cut your hand off, that sins, it's going to hurt. But we're talking about a spiritual hurt, something to be perceived that's real. Just like it's something like the natural picture, but it's not the natural picture of cutting off your eye. That won't solve the problem, but it does spiritually, cutting off the carnal man's eye so he doesn't lust anymore. That's the end goal. A little here, a little there, cutting off, destroying. Messiah teaches it, says it plainly. It's better. This is the better way. Also matching the better resurrection. It's called better, meaning the other one's still good. Now, I'm not saying, coming from this perspective and understanding, it's good because of what it'll accomplish. We'd rather not be in the second resurrection right now or in the future. But this is the better resurrection. And when someone says better, all his truth makes sense. Logical also. Someone calls something better compared to another thing. The other thing is not garbage, because you would use different words. You would say that's garbage and this is not garbage. Better implying and going towards the meaning of the other one. The other thing is still good. The first resurrection is better, though. And the better promises better of the new covenant. And it's better. Starting to sound weird to me now. Better to cut off a little here and a little there. 3 different places that came up to mind right now that use better. All agreeing with each other. Maybe that's what it has to do with. These 3 agree and are one. And then the things on the earth, the water, blood, I don't know. I know what it is. I'm having some block right now for some reason. Spirit. And these 3 agree and are one. It's just something a little new for me. Those words mean something that he needs to give us to perceive and see what it means and what the understanding is, and what the reality of that is. Nothing to do with some Trinity, pagan God, nothing, 0. It's talking spiritual things, but the 3 agree and are one. Kind of got stuck. I forgot the little thing I was talking right before. What's the title? I don't remember. The flesh can't do what's required of the Father to do, so then it needs to be put to death and condemned. And someone that stays in the flesh is continually condemned by the law, the righteous law. And the law is spiritual. That's why the apostle says this. What it requires is real things and not shadow, spiritual in the heart. So then someone in the flesh can't please him. Someone in the flesh is condemned because it can't do good works at all. 0. Lining up with, not contradicting. We must rest from our works because none of it's good. And the old man must die. And a man that dies can no longer build a house. He can't do any works. Not counted for his works. Church world could say some of these words: blood covering, not seeing the real, actual reality and meaning to it, and doing lies, false, evil works. But that's what this world's doing. It's masquerading. Of course, it's going to say and try to say the right things in all times possible and look like the right thing. That's no good to the Father. It's supposed to be the real thing, not shadow. The temple is a copy of the true. It's a shadow representing ye are the temple. You are the temple that the Father dwells in, but first in a picture to the natural people. The presence of the Creator in the literal temple. And it can't have blasphemy in the temple and false images and blasphemy. These images, literal images in the temple, represent the false gods' images, because it's breaking, don't make anything, images of, graven images of, in the heavens, on the sea, under the earth, whatever. Those images are false ways, beliefs, and false gods. The God man, the sin of perdition inside, that's prideful. The God of gods, Daniel, talking about every single person that ever lived, is the God of gods. But when we read it, it sounds like, quickly with letters, it's talking about one person. And so they take this, getting tricked by the Creator, and saying the meaning is a literal man to come someday. He's the bad guy. And they're actually talking about their anti-Messiah that they want. That's a delusion. They say the words to sound right about the man of sin coming someday. That man of sin is what they want, a man in and of the world to save them from good. I think I might shut it off here in a second. But the flesh profits nothing. Another teaching lining up with all these other things, as there is no contradiction. He created the heavens and earth. He can create his word and preserve it exactly how it needs to without any mistakes. There's no spiritual contradiction. And changing one word slightly, like, oh, this word is a better translation, doesn't change any reality of what those words mean. Doesn't change the meaning. On the surface, kind of like literally a carnal understanding, it could change it a little or a lot. But I'm not saying there's no value at all to it. It's like the bottom, though. It's where you start. It's a good foundation to start caring about the meaning of the words. It's just that at first it's like carnal. You got to figure out what this word means, and therefore that's why this is true, because of someone writing a book long ago, 300 years AD, or because of one word changing it slightly. Now this is truth because of that. You'll see carnal people using things like this to prove whatever they're saying. They're trying to prove it with stupidity, with books that other people wrote long ago or not long ago. And that such and such is true because of this or that word in books that other men wrote. Not only are they in sin for praising and worshiping the man, they look highly to the man that the book they use to support what they do. The question is, why are they doing what they do? Those that do this, are they not just using the figs for a cover to seek self-glory and self-gain, hoping for that? An example of coming out of her, my people, very simple, natural, easy to understand, is not knowing about Jesus. And for me, quite a long time. And then the day and days came that I don't want to use that name anymore, set apart from that because of being a false Messiah, another spirit. But I didn't say that or have that for a long time. That's why someone has to be careful not to control someone and command them things, because no one can see what they need to just because someone commanded them to do it. And the Father hasn't done this thing and what it really means yet with them. That's evil to be commanding like that. It's not the right time, or even if it is the right time, it's still man commanding. Moses commands the people, literally. Yeah, but that's the natural. That's the old covenant. Messiah in heaven commanding our heart and teaching our heart. It doesn't look like Moses, although the laws and commandments and teaching never change. It's just that one is carnal and one is spiritual. No one can be taught and believe anything at all unless they actually are being taught by the Father, like Messiah says, they all shall be taught by Elohim, Father. They're not being taught by him. They don't have anything. Zero truth, zero understanding. Selfless, doing what we ought to do. They don't take that parable, seeing it. Consider yourselves unworthy servants, doing what you ought to do. Another agreement with the apostle saying different words. We're debtors, sort of in a way in debt to do good for what he's done for us. And the Spirit's always willing and always doing good work. So walking in the Spirit, it's a requirement to start doing his works, his good works. To the Spirit, the set apart Spirit, the Father himself, he doesn't do bad works, and his Spirit doesn't do bad works or have evil intentions. Those that live in the flesh, carnally minded, is death. It's true right now. It's been true. To be carnally minded is death. This death he's speaking of is not speaking of literal death, not the heavenly, true, valuable teaching. Shadows pointing to the real thing. Building temples is false. It's not about even that, but it's a big problem because of what this means. Because people would never do such a thing. They can't. No true believer in all the world following the Messiah built temples in and of the world, creating a religion system and creed. Foundation was already laid, and it's above from the Father in heaven. No one can lay some earthly, carnal, lowly foundation and build it, and then build upon that foundation. It will be utterly deceived and in a delusion as long as it's there. It's breaking his way. It's breaking his truth there. It's connected to all these other things. It's connected to build temples, is connected with carnality, with death, with not knowing the Father, with doing evil works, doing sin continually, not hearing him, not seeing him. It's connected to all of that. This is the truth, that the flesh can't do anything. This is what everyone will hate the most, very much, that doesn't know the Father. Watch it happen continually. Even if you say the right words about this thing or warning that the flesh can't do any good, even simple teaching, it will be rejected even after hearing the words, because it can't hear those words. Their eyes have closed and grown dim, and their ears, he's speaking of them, grown dull of hearing. There's a reason why he's speaking to the Pharisees for our admonition here. It's the religious leaders that is the big deal. It's the whole harlot. And those that follow after, carnal harlot. And the truth is, no one becomes what they need to be in one day. There is no teaching in Scripture that teaches that's the truth, but only the opposite. Steady growth, slow, steady growth. Maybe sometimes faster or slower, but it's a steady growth. The bigger the tree gets, the more shade it provides. A little bit of blocking out the sun, the heat, is torment. But the fire's on the believer, but he makes it bearable and fair. And it's not too much heat that it's unbearable. Puts a cloud over it so the sun is not unbearable. The tree grows, it provides shade for other things. Go under the tree for shade. They went under the wings of Messiah, the disciples, and he was leading them up to receive the Spirit. You never know who might be being led up because of what anyone's doing, the Father's works. You never know who might be being led up where they don't believe yet, but there's some kind of interest for some strange reason. But it's not just yet believing, so it's not understanding, but it's being led up. That's what the disciples were. So every disciple of Messiah that ever lived was being led up to believe before they believed. And they didn't even know. He says, 5 years later, 7 years later, I was leading you up to believe. He tells us. And you didn't have a clue. Well, that was walking in the Spirit. Not even having a clue that either. The way we need to see it and know. In the beginning, it's like nothing, not seeing. And learn and grow and show you to look backwards and watch what he did. John looks backwards in Revelation there, which John represents all those in Messiah also. It's not just for him. These are the things that happen, must come quickly to anyone who believes. Blessed is he who keeps and reads and keeps the prophecies of this book. And those who are overcoming, he grants to the tree of life. And those that overcome, the same, and not the second death. It's amazing to watch. It's like so hard to watch and believe it's happening sometimes. You watch someone contradict, and then you ask the question to bring it out, include scriptures with the meanings, and it contradicts their lie and teaching, and then they run away. You would think that would bother them, like forever until it's solved, and bother them really bad instantly, and then it forgets the next day, and it doesn't bother them like that anymore. They just remember that you're evil. That bothers them. They'll remember you're evil, but they won't remember when they attack and do this the next day, next week. They won't remember what was said. Didn't perceive it to start with, but perceive that it's teaching to some degree lies and it's doing evil works. It's deceiving and lying to people. Anyone that's lying to people is a deceiver. They don't know what lying is yet. Nobody knows until the Father shows them. They're lying continually. And then not repenting for all those lies at all. That's a lot of sin being piled up. Storing up wrath instead of treasures in heaven. Instead of receiving treasures now and storing them up for the future. The other way, darkness, is storing up wrath now and storing up wrath for the future. You can even read it just like that, storing up wrath on the revelation, on the day of our Creator, when the secret things of men, their heart, will be revealed utterly. To prove it was true all along, to prove all of his people were his people all along. But nobody in the world believed it at any point, save those that know them, which would be another believer in Messiah. Otherwise, the world does not know them. How come they don't believe that in the church world? How come they don't believe darkness comprehends not the light? Comprehended it not. No understanding of it. Zero. And they're hidden in Messiah. How could they be building buildings where he says the Most High does not dwell in temples made with hands? Do that. And then everything else. How are they living the example of the world not believing at all? All of them, But in fact, there's millions, billions of believers to make out the Creator to look like a fool. The Father is seeing and watching all things, so then the Spirit searches all things. We start doing that too, becoming like Him, testing all things the proper way, not testing someone evilly, hoping they sin and to try to trap them in sin and uncover their nakedness on purpose like that. Intention to do that, to do evil, which is murder. That is murder. It's a murderous thing to do that. To hope someone falls or is false and in destruction. Just intentions to set up and trap and hope that it gets trapped. Only those in prison can do something like that because they're trapped. So they can only do what they are and they can only do what they understand. Those outside exodus from the prison can't be doing that anymore. They only want people to be freed from the prison like they're being free. One or the other thing, all or nothing, two opposite things. Two opposite things. So it is for everything, good or evil. The good way of doing it, the evil way of doing it. The look-alike, which is always evil, and then the real way of doing whatever the Father's works are, which is not a look-alike. It actually is that. Light is actually light. Darkness tries to look like it, but it's stupid because darkness could never actually look like and be light. The fact that it's trying to do that constantly, masquerading as light, is foolishness, is wickedness, and it's utter foolishness and blinding, delusional. You say that's what they're trying to do. You talk like that, and they go, no, we're not. They think it crazy. I'm just saying that's the reaction every time. I know it would be the same for everyone that doesn't know the Father. Yes, it is. The works are proving that darkness is trying to look like light, and And the works also prove it can't actually be done. It has to be real light to be light and expose darkness. And someone that's in darkness is not exposing someone else's darkness like light is, because darkness literally can't do that. It can expose itself. It can't see itself, nor can it see what others are doing. It can't see Messiah's people and discern, because there's spiritually no discernment. The spiritual man judges all things, it judges all things. But he himself is judged by no one. Darkness or light is judging, searching, looking for, revealing all things. But no one, darkness, can judge that. Light, darkness never judged light. The righteous judgment, not even one time with one person at any time has it ever rightly judged light. To even try is wicked and stupid. But here we are, it's happening every day. That picture fits that perfectly because it's meant to. The spiritual judge all things, discern all things, to rightly divide between good and evil and everything else. But he himself, someone spiritual, a believer, is judged by no one, because the world can't judge light. It will always be a false accusation, judging light for what itself is, even in the moment. When darkness judges light and says, you're this, it speaks of its own resources. It speaks from darkness that it is. Therefore, when darkness makes a judgment to light, it only can speak about itself. Okay, I'm going to wind it down here. Peace, take care. Seek truth from our Father above.